Welcome to Espiritu Coffee Chats, the podcast where we blend wellness, spirituality, and business to help you live with intention and balance.
We're your hosts, Valerie and Arlene, two Latina entrepreneurs here to guide and grow with you. Welcome back to today's podcast. We're doing another episode of Espiritu Coffee Chats, and today we're talking about ayahuasca.
Yeah, we're back with another ayahuasca episode, and that is mostly because Val and I had recently did one this past summer, and this would be my third time. Valerie, what is this for you?
This is now my fourth time. I can't believe it.
I know. So we thought we would update you because we did do an ayahuasca episode all the way back when one of our very first episodes. I will leave the link below, but you can scroll back. It was maybe like episode between 1 to 5. And that one we have more of like our experience from the first time to the second. Valerie was her third. And then now we're just kind of updating as we go along with our journey.
Yeah. So one thing about ayahuasca that I think we've said it before is that it's not like a recreational thing or shouldn't be treated as such. There are definitely a lot of sacred indigenous practices that come with it, and it should be a plant that is respected. And there's actually quite a bit of work that goes into preparing for your ayahuasca journey. So like we said last time, there's a dieta, setting your intentions. You know, it's not something where when Chris did it with his first time, he was like, I want to talk to the aliens.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of that, but not really.
I mean, yeah, we'll talk about it.
But it's definitely something to be taken seriously and with respect in how you approach it and the people that you're doing it with, and also the shaman. Like, it's best to have a shaman who has practices in indigenous wisdom and plant wisdom, who's done it quite a few times. Yeah. Anything else that we should do before we dive in?
I think that also being mindful of the energetics of the people around you, that is something that the past three to 4 times that we've both been like, okay, the energy of people around us really does matter. And it can either be enhancing or it can be very distracting. So I think that's something to really consider. Do you want to be in a big group? Do you want to be in a smaller container? Valerie has experience with doing it by herself, so she can touch on that. I've never done it by myself, but I've only done in like smaller groups. So that's also something to consider, especially since, you know, if you travel down to Peru and stuff or Latin America, you know, you're usually at retreat centers where they might be groups like 25. I've even heard like 30 to 50. So just know like what your level on and your energetics are. Like, are you empath? I am, and I feel everything. So smaller group works for me. But if a big group works for you, like, and again, it's just being mindful of like all the little things like that you wouldn't consider, that you would think in the long run do really help you in your journey, or like you can take away things and also take away things from other people. So there's that.
Yes, definitely be mindful of the people around you. And every time I feel like we've been very selective with who was in the circle with us. And I remember the very first time we even had like a little meet and greet, if you will, where we kind of got together so that way we wouldn't walk in blind, not knowing who else was going to be in the circle with us. So something to keep in mind if you're venturing abroad for these large sessions. So yeah, we'll just dive right into, I'll start us off with how my experience was. I'm laughing because I'm just like thinking back to everything that I was feeling during it. And this was my 4th time. And gosh, this definitely felt like the most, I don't want to say effective one because they were all effective, but this one definitely felt like the most powerful. And us being naturals at ayahuasca, when we first got there, the shaman, we had used a different shaman this time, a male this time.
Yes. Last time we used a female, and even the energetics of that were different.
Yes. So that's also something to take into account. And generally how they perform the ceremony as well. Because this time our shaman played different instruments. So he could play like the icaros, the traditional music that you hear them play in like the jungle when they're doing ayahuasca, and also mixed in a little bit of modern music. So country, a little bit EDM. That was fun. We were definitely dancing and vibing. And I remember when we walked in, he was like, okay, do you guys have any questions? And we're like, no, not really. And he was even telling us how, because we had told him like our previous sessions, and he was telling us how multiple people had told him that for whatever reason that his medicine was more powerful. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then walking away afterwards, I was like, yep, that's what it felt like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So walking in, I didn't really have any intention per se. I was more so just like open to whatever messages that I would receive. And I just kind of wanted some guidance on like how to move forward, because in my personal life, which I don't really talk about much and probably won't go into much detail here, but there's just been a lot of stuff going on in my personal life and my family life. And then obviously business life has drastically changed. Like we closed the coffee shop and just trying to figure out how to rebound from that. So I guess in many ways I felt a little bit lost and not sure of where to go and how to proceed. And I think just everything compiling at once definitely took a toll on my mental health, which I already like struggle with before. And I used to have a therapist that I would meet with biweekly, and I've not met with them for about a year now, I think, because financial reasons. Like Surge Coffee is my full-time job, and I don't have another job to like be able to pay for therapy. So ayahuasca has kind of been my therapy on steroids. So I walked in open with whatever I would receive. And I mean, I definitely got exactly that. I think there was a lot of blockages that I had from my childhood that it reminded me of, and also helped me release a lot of grief. I think I've just been carrying like so much grief. And I remember I even had to like leave the room because I was just so overwhelmed by it that, yeah, like I went to the restroom inside the house because we were in a separate room. And I just remember I was like, I don't know if I can go back in that room. And it just was like so heavy. And I was really like, what's going on here? Like, why am I here? Like, what am I doing? Is this like, I also did not want to like ruin your guys' journeys. And I was like, okay, I feel like there's just something here and I don't know what it is, but it just feels so freaking heavy. And I purged a little bit in the restroom, actually.
Purge. What do you mean by you purge?
So I threw up.
Because people are so scared of the purge.
Yes. I mean, you can purge in many different ways. Mine was, in that instance, was throwing up. And when I was young, I would get like pretty sick and I would throw up a lot. And it kind of took me back to like those instances where I was just like really young. And it just triggered something in me that just brought in like all of this emotion. And I just remember I was like, I need help. There's something like, I just need help. And they had cats and the cats were like all around me. And I was like, for sure, I need help.
They're like, I got you, girl. Take all this away for you.
Yeah. I was like, the cats are telling me that I need help and they're trying to help me. And then I was like, okay.
They're like, meow.
Yes. And like rubbing against me and stuff. And the shaman's wife was like there in the room and she was there laying on the bed. And she had mentioned earlier, like, if you guys go to the restroom, like, don't lock the door in case you do need help or whatever. Like, we can come in and we can help you. And yeah, and I was standing in the doorway of the restroom and I was like, I don't know what to do, but something in me is telling me that I need to ask for help. And so I went over to her and I was like, excuse me, can you help me?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
That's so cute. I loved his partner, his wife. She's so sweet.
Yeah, she was really nice and very helpful for me. And so she's like, yeah, what can I help you with? I literally had no freaking clue what I needed in that moment. But I was like, I don't know, something just telling me that I need to ask you for help. And then she's like, okay. And then I just started freaking crying like no other. And I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm just carrying so much grief. And I just was just like spilling it out. and my grandma had just passed, and just like family turmoil, and then like family, like our life looks very different now than what I thought it would be. And so it was just a lot. Some of it felt like it was mine, but some of it also felt like it wasn't mine. And yeah, she was really kind and just gave me some, not words of affirmation, but like guidance on how to proceed through it. And because I was telling her a lot of it felt kind of like ancestral, like from my mom's side, because I do think my grandma came through in some way. And yeah, she was telling me how like even some of the grief that like we carry, that my mom carries, like it is partially mine because it is through the ancestral lineage. Right. So yeah. So then I cried out a bunch of times. The shaman came back in to make sure I was okay, because I guess I was there for a little bit too long. Yeah. And then I was going back, girl. And I just remember, I don't know if I told you guys this, but I was going back to the room that we were in all together. And I remember she was there, and I thought she was talking to him, but then I saw him like leave and go away. And then I went into the room that we were all in, and then he was there.
Oh, yeah, that happened. Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about.
Right?
Yeah, like it was like, is that the movie The Matrix, where like they're one area and then all of a sudden they flash to the other area?
Yeah.
That was happening a lot. Like I would think he'd be over in like one corner of the room, and then all of a sudden he's like right next to you. I'm like, wait, I thought you were just over there. Or there are times where I thought that he was over there with you, but then he was actually sitting down, like in a like super far away. And I was like, okay, maybe this is just his spirit.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Definitely felt like the quantum timelines had been
For sure.
collapsed.
Quantum. Keyword quantum.
It was crazy. And I honestly probably would not have believed any of this stuff had I not done ayahuasca. Because before I was like, the Matrix, what? No, quantum, boo. But now I'm like, okay,
right,
here we are. But yeah, it was definitely just a lot of purging for me. I think the last couple of ones have been purging, mainly like vomiting. My stomach seems to be okay. And I think just a lot of what I was receiving was letting go of the ancestral things that are going on, everything that's been carried in my lineage, because I mean, there's just like a ton of drama in the history of like my mom's side of the family. Not all of the brothers and sisters get along. Like we went to the funeral and people again were like arguing, and it was just it was just
a kumbaya.
No, I really wanted it to be a kumbaya, and maybe that was just the naivety in me and the innocence, I guess. And it just wasn't that. I mean, I'm grateful that like at least I got to connect with my cousins, because I haven't seen them in a really long time, and we all just dispersed, and now we're all in like a WhatsApp group chat, which is really nice. But it's just, yeah, I think a lot of it was just like letting go of what I thought life would look like, letting go for sure of the grief, and kind of just accepting things as they are. Like I can't do anything to change like how my parents were raised and how they raised us, and like how my grandma lived and any of that stuff. And although somehow it like affected me and my siblings and like my life, it's just kind of like that thing. Like my therapist would always be like, radical acceptance. I'm like, no.
Right.
But yeah, I think definitely now I'm like, okay, radical acceptance for sure, because it wasn't all bad. They did the best that they could. And I mean, from better or worse, like I came out okay.
Yeah.
And some of what I went through did shape some of the good parts in me. And it's just like now, okay, like constantly working through some of the like the negative parts, like the mental health issues, because I think a lot of it does stem from a lot of my childhood. And yeah, I think just kind of like love was a big thing, like being accepting of all people and like loving all people. Because like I do love hard, but I love hard the people that I love.
Right. You're like, I don't love everybody.
Yeah. And like, even with my human design, like it's supposed to be like a universal love, like acceptance. And I'm like, but I don't like you.
It's interesting that you said innocence, because that's one of your prominent human design incarnation cross gates, which is like hard because innocence is kind of like a naive energy. It's like, oh, like you just, you want to believe and hope and all this stuff. And then having to feel like, oh, but wait, I can't be that innocent.
Yeah.
And it's really like this fine, but you don't want to lose that either.
Right.
So it's like, that was what you were like kind of presented with.
Yeah. And I think part of it now, I think some of the things that I do now is also because the childhood that I had was different. And in some ways, like I kind of had to grow up early a little bit.
You're the oldest, right?
I am the oldest. Yeah.
Sorry.
So
I'm the baby, so you know.
Listen, the babies have their own things. They get picked on by everybody else.
We could do an episode on that.
But yeah, so I definitely walked away with a lot of like, I guess just trying to grow through things and being okay with life as it is, being grateful for the things that I do have, like the wonderful moments that I do have, like living in San Diego is freaking amazing. Like we just went to the beach randomly and working on the business there. And I'm like, when else could I get to do this? Where else could I get to do this? Only here. Yeah. And I think just like healing a lot of like ancestral lineage things. I do think I need another session probably. But yeah, it was quite the journey.
Yeah. And this time when it comes, because ayahuasca is a feminine form plant, like the essence is a feminine, divine feminine. Did you feel like a masculine? Because this time around was the first time both of us have worked with a male shaman. The other 3 times or 2 times for you, well, whatever, you guys know what I mean. The other times we're all with a woman. And so did you feel any masculine energy, or did you still feel like that feminine essence?
I still felt a lot of feminine essence, actually. I had like people kind of come to my mind and like visit me during my session, and all of them were women. But I think it may have also been because like I feel like his masculinity is so well balanced that it just created a really nice container for me to be held, because I cried, I puked. Like it was just the amount of tears I shed and like mocos, like I don't know, boogers. It was so bad. Well, not bad, but it was just a lot. And I don't think I have like ever cried that much like in front of a man. I mean, I did once with like Chris, but that was because he happened to come home when I was crying like that.
And I'll close the door.
Yeah, I was like, get away from me. Even though I needed to be held, which he did hold me. So that was nice. But yeah, I feel like maybe it was the masculine energy. I think maybe was felt for me through the intensity of the session.
Yeah. Yeah. And he did. It was interesting at me as an observer watching him connect with you in the fact that like he knew at what points were hard for you, and he was there like, and I can energetically feel him too, like using his energy to like really hold you, like hold space. And that was really beautiful for me to see a male, because you don't, see, I don't trust men. Okay. Like I have issues.
Girl, same.
I have a lot of issues with men, especially coming from a background with sexual assault and stuff like that. So seeing that, I think, and I was telling my husband this, was like so healing for me in that part, because I have such a wall with men with that part. Yeah. Like, I'm like, I don't trust you because you probably want something, or like, don't come into my energy field or whatever. Right. So when I saw that he was in that nurturing aspect with you, I was like, okay, yeah. Like, and it felt energetically pure. With ayahuasca, I feel like you remove so in Ayurveda, there's like the koshas and there's the 5 energy bodies. So it's like the energetic bodies. And it's almost like in ayahuasca, the physical body part gets shed and you can just feel the energetics.
Yeah.
That, at least for me, that's how it is. So I can pierce into somebody's like, I guess, intentions or their aura way quicker and faster. And when I was piercing through him, it was like, okay, I like the way that he was holding space. And you were doing your own healing, but it was just like that energy of like somebody like pushing and guiding and, being there for you. And it being a male was really, nice to see.
Yeah. The one thing that really sticks out to me is like how you were saying, like how I was doing my own healing, like the Reiki. I was doing Reiki on myself, which you were helping me with, even though you were like laying there
like 10 feet away.
And then I was doing a lot of spinal energetics. Like I was just focusing really heavily on the spine. Yeah. And the vision that I like keep seeing that keeps coming back to me is like it was like a higher version of me. It was, I don't know, it was really like Egyptian goddess style. It was really interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think those were the things that definitely stuck out to me. The EDM that he played, like, oh my God, I loved it. It was so good. It was like EDM with like Indian chanting, like kind of yoga style. And it was just so nice to be like moving and like releasing things. I did a lot of leg shaking to like release stuff from my hips and stuff. So
right. Yeah, we were like, can we get that playlist? And he's like, I don't create one. I just go in the moment. I play certain songs for certain people or to guide the energy. And then he also plays the other, traditional instruments and stuff. So I think that was really interesting. Like he intuitively knows what to put on for the crowd, I guess. He's like a DJ.
Yeah.
And as they all are, like they, part of ayahuasca, usually it does have music, attached to it. Cause that music, it does bring in, like, it does guide you in its own space and its own way.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, that's my experience in a nutshell.
In a nutshell. Okay, so then mine, so this was my third round. My second round, like I said, was more of a helper dose because I was facilitating the retreat and just supporting the shaman. But even then, I was still able to get my own experiences. So that's the second one will probably be one of the most memorable because that's where I was able to come into this role where I was the supporter of the shaman and being able to understand the medicine in that way and how like it can turn on and off. I think that's where I was like, wow, like this is pretty powerful. And then when I can turn it on again, that was when I got out of the whole helper, like nurse type role. And then I was able to like still have my one-on-one with Mama Aya. So that was pretty cool. And then this third time, the reason why I wanted to do it was because I just went like 2025 has just been a really weird year in the sense that I know that there's a power I need to step into, but there was a lot of shadowy stuff that I experienced at the beginning of the year with my business and mostly with business, to be honest.
Yeah.
My personal life is actually almost stable for the most part. I mean, we're not always like me and my husband, our relationship isn't like perfect, and my kids, like we're all, we don't go through these big ups and downs. Like if there's anything like that, we usually try to really work with it. But yeah, this wasn't like from January to like summer, family stuff, relationship stuff was all stable. So it was more of like, okay, what is my purpose, God? Like, why am I here? And how can I use my soul? Like, I want to know that because I'm just constantly like, not that I'm always questioning it. I'm just always like making sure I'm in alignment with my work. Does my work match my soul? Does my work match my purpose? And as y'all know, I do like my own little dumpster dives on my own charts and tapping into different realms and things like that with human design, astrology, and breath work and all that fun stuff. So this time was just like, okay, let's come back because my first 2 rounds with ayahuasca really did teach me that I need to get out of my own head and into my heart. And that's the only place that I can do that with. And it's the only place that I feel closest to God, to the universe, to my angels, to my ancestors, and then even back to myself. Because I do believe in God. I was brought up Catholic. So I do believe in God, but I also believe in like all like goddesses and there's all these other things. And this experience literally opened up that realm to me even more. I was like, wow, this is crazy. If my mind's making all this shit up, I have a great mind. Like I want to always have what I'm having.
Oh my God.
Because it was so magical and it was quantum, like you were saying. It wasn't in this, I wasn't in this world. I was in a whole nother space. And it was just like I was telling, Valerie and the other friend who attended with us, that it was just like me literally sitting there with the universe and the universe just giving me lessons on how life works. And that came in like a very quantum type of way. It was like, here's all these codings, and then here's why we have these codings. And then, but also you earthly being like here so that you can understand. And I'm like a little kid in the candy store, like getting a lesson from like this professor of the universe. And I'm just like, tell me more. And it's taking me through a journey. And that's literally, and ayahuasca is definitely a journey. I mean,
yes.
like you go through chapters, different stories, like you are literally on a journey. It's like you're on a magic carpet ride. And well, that's how I felt this last time. And I was just giving these lessons by Mama Ayahuasca. And it was definitely a female essence, but also in like different realms. And there's like different quantum realms and there's access to other realms, but it's like, but you have to get like shooken in a sense, you know, like there's certain consciousness, I guess, like soul consciousness. And so the more you are conscious, I guess, then the more you are like invited into these other spaces. So that's what half of my experience was. And it was just so sciencey. And I'm not a sciencey person, but it also, you know, in human design, there is a quantum, like the I Ching definitely, and the gene keys in human design definitely play with that. But so there's like a quantum science behind human design that I definitely do understand. But this was deeper than that. It was like, you know, like one of the biggest messages was there was like, there were no last names. And it was all about how last names don't matter. What matters is coding and light coding here on Earth. And I mean, up in the stars and the universe and all that. But on Earth, we need that last name because the genetics and the lineage and the blood and all that stuff. But up there, it's all just like quantum coding and light. And I was just like, what? And then, so there were no last names. That was the biggest thing. Like lineage matters, but not really up there. Yeah. And also there's no gender. There's no he, there's no she, there's no color. Like nothing really matters. What matters is light. I was like, what? Light coding. And I was like, okay, interesting. And mind you, I don't read sciencey stuff like this. Like I'm like spiritual stuff, hell yeah. But sciencey stuff, like, I'm like, why are we even getting into it? Like, it's not anything that my brain would make up, I guess is my point.
Yeah.
There's some people are like, well, you just all made it up. Cause you know, I'm like, no, I don't read this stuff. Like, I don't even look at all this. Like, I mean, the human design is the deepest that I get into that type of stuff. So anyway, so there was that. And then I guess like healing wise, I did get to a moment in time where I got to talk to my dog who passed away, Kobe. And that was really special because he passed away during COVID. And I didn't get to say goodbye to him because we weren't allowed into the room where they put the dog down because, you know, COVID. So I think in my soul that always weighed on me, and it still does. Like I can literally cry right now. But it was like Mama Aya asked, and Kobe was with her, like his little soul, do you want to go back to that moment? And do you want to, or like, are you ready? Do you want to go? Like, do you want to revisit that time? And I was like, yeah. But it was really interesting that they asked me and he asked me. And so I was like, oh, okay. So we went back and I literally sat there. I'm going to cry. And I held it like we were in the little office and I never even went. I've never put a dog down. So that's probably why like I felt really bad because like he was my first family dog. So, you know, I was able to like pet him and like to go back to that space. And so that was like so healing just for me with him because he was like such a big part of our family. And you know, he was like the dog that was our first family dog, you know? And then he even told me, he's like, so Frida does all these things, which is our little corgi dog now who would love to be in here with us. She's our podcast mascot. And he was like, she does these things that I used to do. And I know that you know this and I know that you think about it. And he's like, that is because she comes from where I come from too. And so we're like in the same little family and she's not him, but she's a part of him in a sense. And then they started explaining the coding again. And I was like, okay, interesting. Because she does do a lot of the same things that my dog Kobe used to do. And I remember sometimes I'm like, Kobe, are you in there? And so it's just interesting that had come up, but it was really healing in the fact that I got to like say goodbye on that energetic soul level. And that was which was really nice. And that's kind of what happened. My first experience with ayahuasca, the first time I did it, it was me dealing with grief around losing my daughter who had passed away of SIDS. Again, like ayahuasca just reminds me, like, you talked about grief, but my grief and Valerie's grief, I think the way that we talk about it is different. What you were dealing with at this time, at least. I mean, I know you're grieving with your grandma, but you were also grieving like chapters in your life that are now closing and evolving. And I was dealing with just actual like death grief in that sense. And I got a little bit of that. And then the rest of the part was just what Valerie said. We called it the ayahuasca surgery.
Yes.
Because
oh my God.
you get like, I literally was like getting, my head would like twitch, like somebody was working with my head, and it was like putting, like I can feel like little energy, like probes or something. Like, I don't fucking know. And then my spine, the same thing with the spine, all that stuff was like like, I feel like I'm on an operating table and everybody's just working on me. And they were literally telling me that they're like, we're working on you. So like, but we're also like your mind is over there. Your body's here with us. So as my mind was on this journey, or my soul, my physical body was in that room getting like an ayahuasca surgery. It was fucking weird, but amazing at the same time. And I felt that, I would say like 2 weeks after still, I could still, I randomly, I'd be like, my head would twitch. I'm like, oh, you're still working on me. And they were like, you're getting coding, you're getting downloads. We're coding you with more gifts, more this, more that. And then, so when I wasn't doing all that, my experience are usually a little different with ayahuasca, in the sense like I actually did get sick, but at the end, and I have a funny story about that. But during the actual ceremony, and I was asking, because this is my third time with Mama Ayahuasca, and I'm like, how come I don't throw up? Or how come I don't get, the purge? I purge with tears, but I don't purge like what everybody associates, right? Mine is more crying, like the whole time. So, and it was interesting because our friend, she was next to me and she ran out of toilet paper. Oh, this was so sweet. This is one of the most sweetest things too that humbled me. Before we started ayahuasca, we had a little toilet paper roll, each of us. And mine was like a little, almost like not empty, but like didn't have a whole lot on there. It wasn't full. And I was like, oh, I might need more than this, because I always cry. That was my point, and I go through fucking toilet paper like nothing, wiping my tears. And then there's a little waste basket that you kind of throw it in. So my basket is full of just like toilet paper at the end. And then other people will have like throw up plus toilet paper and all this other stuff. My friend, she ran out of toilet paper. So I was like, I was looking for mine. And then I found when I touched it, I noticed that it was bigger. It was a bigger roll. And I was like, oh, the shaman came and gave me a bigger roll of toilet paper. How sweet. And I didn't even know when that happened. Like, I don't know when he came around and switched that out. But I ended up I took some for me, and then I gave my toilet paper roll to our friend. I was like, here, girl, you need it. And I just had whatever. So I guess my point is that my purge is a little different, but it's also, I can also be in there and open my eyes and be aware of where the energy's at. So like when Valerie was feeling her feels and all the things, it was like, okay, let me go support. And I was like energetically knowing when and where to do Reiki and support her. And then our other friend who was there too. And that's kind of happened in my first journey, my second, and now the third. So sometimes I do get this like, okay, you can go help too. And I'm like, oh, can I though? Cause I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm not here. I'm not the healer, but it's like, well, no, bitch, you are. So stop doubting yourself. Like, you can hold space for this. You did it once, like for others, and you can do it. And so stop doubting yourself. So there's a lot of like, I felt like gifts in that sense. And there was also like, hey girl, you also need to slow your energy down. Like you need to slow down, and like, meaning like, in life, in your day-to-day, you're always running around. Like, you need to give yourself space. You don't always have to and especially go for others. Like, you need to nurture yourself. So part of them working on me was like recharging me in a sense, but it was also, and this is going to call back into what I'll leave everybody off with, is during that time, Mama Ayahuasca was like, so I need you to start listening to your body. When your body's tired, I need you to rest. If you don't want to eat something, don't eat it. If you want to not talk to somebody, don't talk to them. Like, you need to get better with like your boundaries, especially when working with others and healing others. You don't have to always physically tire yourself out in order to also provide a healing and a service, or your gifts in a sense. So it was like, so you need to like conserve and literally like have more energetic boundaries. And so listen, and your body will tell you. And I'm like, okay. So there was a lot of like really telling me and lecturing me, like to understand my body and my energy and all that. So then once everything ended, we all sat around and we were, debriefing, and the shaman and his wife, they held space for us still. And we had food, Valerie brought food. I brought a mushroom broth, and Valerie brought cantaloupe fruit, which I've had the previous 2 times. And the shaman also, they gave us some food too. But I woke up and I was like, I hadn't ate. Oh, another thing too is I had to pee when we went, maybe like 5 minutes into the ceremony. I was like, I gotta go pee. But I was like, I don't want to wake. I don't want to get up right now though. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just wait a little bit. And then maybe 40 minutes in is when I started to feel it. I was like, oh, okay, we're here. I'm in the journey. And then all of a sudden, like, I knew that I had to pee, but my like body held it the whole time, which I thought was really interesting. And then the moment we woke up, I was like, when I came back to our realm, I was like, okay, now I got to go pee. And it was just interesting because I held it for like 4 hours. And I was like remembering when I first had to go pee, I felt like it was urgent. And then it was just like pause. And then I woke up when I came back to my body. So I got up and I went to the bathroom. Came back and then I was like, yeah, I'm not really hungry, but I saw this fruit on the table and I was like, maybe I should eat that fruit because we were going to go home. We literally did the journey and then Chris, Valerie's fiance, came to pick us up and then we came back home to our actual homes that we live in. So I was like, oh, well, I'm gonna go back to my family. So I should probably eat a little bit, even though I didn't want to. So this is a lesson. So I ate 2 pieces of cantaloupe and then I was chewing on it like for like 20 minutes. It was just like, bleh. But I was like, let me just chew on it. And it was really interesting that I chewed it to like mush, but I can feel all the little like, I don't think I've ever tasted a cantaloupe like that. Like it was just like, I could, like my taste buds could taste the sweetness, the texture. Like it was like, it wasn't a bad thing. It was just like, I'm taking a long time to eat this. So I ate it. Meanwhile, everybody's sharing or whatever. And then like maybe another 10 minutes passes by. But before that, mind you, the whole time during the ceremony, I'm just chill. I think I've had my hand across like my chest the whole time and pretty calm. Didn't feel anything as far as like feeling like I needed to throw up or anything. So then after that, I was like, oh, I'm starting to feel sick. I got like chills run through my body. I felt like my body's getting hot, I'm starting to sweat. I'm like, what's going on here? And then I was like, shit, I think I'm going to throw up. And then sure enough, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to throw up. So I had the little trash bin next to me and I got it and I threw up in it. And then I was like, Mama Aya, and how sarcastic am I too? I'm like, you said that I wasn't going to get sick during ceremony. And she was like, you're not in ceremony right now. And you didn't listen to me. I told you to listen to your body and you didn't listen to me. You ate that fruit and you knew you shouldn't have. And now look what happened. So it was like so a lesson that I was like, yeah, like you just told me to listen to my body and my mental body was like, you know, rationalizing why I should eat this thing, but my body did not want it at all. Like I would have been fine without it. And so that's what was so funny because she was like, yeah, now you needed to learn all of this because now I want you to remember this moment in your real life once you go back home to the rest of your life. So that was like pretty interesting, but a lot of it was just like, here's the way the world works, the universe. And then here, a lot about my ancestral lineage too. There's a lot of stuff that I was like explained to about, you know, my mom's side, for sure, the maternal side, as well as my paternal side as too. And there was a lesson on all that in like light coding. Like, here's the light coding for your family and all this stuff. And one of the beautiful things too was, we want you to remember, or Mama Aya was like, I want you to remember that you have light, but you also have dark. So every time you see this June bug, and remember when they flew in your hair, and remember when your cousin gave you this necklace about, it was what is that called? Not a June bug, but they're a beetle. So whenever you see beetle or June bug, like I want to remind you that you have this shadow and this light. And so now when you see them around, now you know that's me telling you and reminding you. Like synchronicities was the thing too. It was like, you already know synchronicities, but now like stop doubting them. Like the clock synchronous, which we all know 111 or whatever. But I do have specific numbers that I've like, I guess, coded myself that means something to me. And then also with the June bug, that was the whole thing of like, because a June bug has a reflection on it, almost like a labradorite crystal. If you reflect it, it turns like a rainbowy color. And it was like, you know, a June bug has that light side and it's attracted to light. June bugs are blind, which I didn't know that.
Oh, I didn't know that
They're like blind
either.
as fuck.
Holy cow.
But they fly, they're attracted to aura. They can see like differently than we can. But then they come from the June bug family, which is also associated to the Egyptian goddess Isis and that whole thing. But the June bug's more associated with the underworld.
Okay.
Not the June bug, the beetle.
The beetle.
But the June bug's part of the beetle family. So anyways, that was the whole like, I don't know, probably like a 45-minute explanation from Mama Ayahuasca. But you don't know time as well. Like you don't really know the process of time and like how what does 2 hours feel like? What does this feel like? But I do know, and I remember stepping in and I was like, I can feel you leaving now, Mama Aya. And I was like, I don't want to go yet. She's like, well, you have to go. I'm like, okay. And then there was like more lessons in a sense. And I was like, you know what? I'm just really tired right now. Can I take a break? And she was like, yeah, you could take a break. And I'm like, okay. But I was like, I also feel like if I take a break, we're done. And she was like, just take a break. And I was like, okay, I'm going to lean to my side. And I leaned over to my right side, like in a fetal position. And literally like less than a minute later, that's when the shaman was like, ladies, are you there? How you feeling? And I was like, we're done.
Yeah.
And and I feel like you know this too. Like, when like that world and that realm is closed, like you still feel in, like it's still there. Like you're a little groggy in a sense. Like you just took some Robitussin, but it's like, I can't go back now. So when I rolled over to my right side, I already knew like the door's closed and now I'm rebirthing into this world. So it was weird that it was so symbolic. And then that he literally was like, all right, we're back. And I was like, we are back. Like, I don't feel shit anymore. Like, we're done. I was like, no, we're close. I'm back with you. So that was really weird. And like I said, even going back to, for me, because sometimes every time I go through ayahuasca, I do get a little scared of going into the journey of the sexual rape that I endured when I was younger. And I'm like, I always wonder, like, subconsciously, have I really healed from that? I know there are things that I need to work, not that I need to work on, I shouldn't should myself, but in the sense of like, it's a path that never really, you're not exclusively done with it, you know, something triggers something. So it was when I woke up and at the end of the day, I was like, this was so healing in the sense of feeling a masculine energy. And I didn't feel anything like funky about him, or because I was probing. I was like watching him when he was, when he would work with our friend, when he's working with Valerie, I was like, let me keep an eye out. And nope, nothing. Like everything just came back clear, like good soul, good intentions. And that, like I said, was healing for me because that was like, not all men have that. Not all men, not all spirits are like that. Yes. So that was one of my biggest lessons, because everybody also, one of the, things with ayahuasca is like, oh, you get taken advantage of, which I'm not saying like that can't happen. However, you are conscious enough. So I feel like if that did happen, I feel like you would know. I don't know. I can't speak for that, but I do know that that was really supportive for me with healing the male energetics, especially coming from the background that I've had and the trauma that I've had. So that was like really nice. And I'm thankful that I got to experience that with a male. And I was telling my husband, and I'm like, oh, you getting jealous a little bit? You get a little jealous.
Sergio, come join us.
Yeah, you come join us. I've invited him and he said he'll do it, but it's on his time. I'm like, yes, sir. Of course. So yeah, that's kind of, there's a lot more like into it, but that's like in a nutshell, our experiences this last time. And I feel like debunking some things would be like the purge. Like, don't be scared of it. And we've watched other people go through their purges. Some of them are painful and brutal. Some of them are scarier than others. But I think at the end of the day, she does give you, the medicine gives you everything that you need. And you just have to be open to the journey and the experience, and you have to walk in not knowing what you're going to come into. And if it's as amazing as mine was this last time, that's great. But it's also like, again, I have had those deep, sad moments where I'm facing parts of my subconscious or parts of my soul, parts of my lineage, my generation, that I'm like, man, okay, this is okay. This is where we're at.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with that. Like, I was the only one that took 2 doses that day. So when he pulled us out of it, I was still very much in it. And actually, the other friend that we were with was like, Val, do you need more time? And I was like, I don't really want more time, but I do think I need it. And then did like a little bit more work, a little bit more like eye surgery. And then we came out of it. It was like one more song or something. But yeah, I think the first dosage that I had, the first part of my journey was like releasing a lot of the grief, going through a lot of that stuff. But then the second dose definitely felt a lot more lighter.
Oh, that's right. Valerie did have 2 doses. So in ayahuasca, you start out with your dose and then you can get another dose if you feel like you need more. I don't know what that. Yeah, let's speak to that, because I don't really know. When I do it, I'm like, I'm good. Like, I'm already in land. But I don't. So when do you intuitively just are like, yeah, I can use some more?
Yes, I do think it's very intuitive. And the shaman does ask. I just remember the first time I only had a single dose, and the second time when I was with you and our other friends, that time I had a second dose as well. But I think that dose was because there was some like weird energies in the room that just wasn't allowing me to like fully enter.
Yeah.
And when I did it by myself, I actually only had a single dose. And that one, I went and I saw my past lives. It was very like rainbows and butterflies. Like, it was really nice. I don't think I had any purging that time, actually. It was beautiful. And this time, I did not want the second dose. But he asked, and then I sat there and I thought about it, and I was like, do I really want this? And part of me was like, no, like, we're done. Like, my body was done. My human body was done. And then I sat there a little bit longer and I was like, yeah, I actually think I need to have a second dose, because it felt like there was more work to be done. And I'm glad that I did, because the second part was more of like where the surgery, like when you talk about the IO surgeries, like, girl, they like pulled my head to the side and were like freaking pulling on my ear. I was like, okay, just fix me. Thank you.
Yeah. That's the alien part, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, he did say he's seen and spoken to aliens. So I believe it. Anything's possible. But yeah, I think it is an intuitive thing where, like, either I'm done, or you kind of know like, okay, I need to open myself to more work.
Right.
But yeah, I think there's also like that aspect of getting out of the mind, out of the logic, where I was like, my body is tired. Like, mentally, I don't know if I can do this, but spiritually, energetically, like, I knew that I needed more work.
You just reminded me of something that I got in my downloads, which was AI. Remember I was telling you about?
Yes.
And the AI, and basically it was like with warfare and stuff. And that was probably the scariest part. It was like a very, what's that? Nostradamus type of feeling. And so it was almost like preparing me for what to expect going forward in the future. And, I asked a lot of questions, and that's a whole nother thing. But I guess to sum it up is like, AI is going to be good, but there's also going to be a lot of like lives lost because of it. And warfare won't be the same. The way our human systems work aren't going to be the same. And so just like giving me like a heads up in a sense. And it wasn't like horrible. Like, I'm not saying like to scare everybody, but it was just kind of like, things are going to be a lot quicker and faster. So one of the examples was like, back in the day when there was just swords and no firearms, like it took freaking like a whole week to have a battle, right? On the battlefield. It was just like one little field, right? And you would have all these soldiers and they'd be hashing it out for a couple days. And then introduction of guns. And then, now it's like still on the same battlefield, but now it's like a couple of hours or whatever. Now where we're at least the technology that we have right now, it's like bombing, and like that just lasts like a couple seconds, Now with AI, the levels are changing. So that's where I was like, okay, this sounds a little scary for me at least. And so that's where it was interesting to have a conversation in that sense, if this is anything to like as a prophecy, not a prophecy, but I don't know how you like to call it. Seeing in the future, I guess. So yeah, that's something for me to chew on. And I just felt like I wanted to share that. So maybe we should kind of think about AI is great, but like it should be regulated, because there's so many things that could happen so fast.
100% agree.
But yeah, so that's kind of one last little thing. I wrote down everything. So there's just like so much to share and talk about.
Yeah.
But we'll be here for 2 more hours.
Literally. Yeah. And I think when approaching ayahuasca, just some things like we did follow a diet recommended, and we do recommend it for anyone who's interested in ayahuasca. It's not like totally necessary, but it does allow the medicine to focus on like what it actually needs to focus on, as opposed to like clearing out your system. You don't always purge. You don't always have to purge. Purging looks different for everybody. To find a safe shaman, definitely ask them questions about their practice, where they learned from. I mean, heck, even if they're trauma informed, I feel like that's really important.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I 100% agree with that. Or yeah, because there's trauma that, I mean, every time I deal with something that happened, trauma. So so definitely, or having somebody that you can work with after that is trauma informed to help and support you if there is anything that comes up in that sense. I think that I love that. I mean, I don't know. It'd be really hard for a shaman in like, oh my God, straight in the jungle to be trauma informed. But I'm sure that they, you know, again, like the person that we were with held space for us in that sense.
Yeah.
So it's making sure like they can hold space for you and for your soul and for your experience. I think that is the most important thing out of everything, because the shamans really do dictate their own energy too and dictate the space. So I think that's a big lesson that we've learned. Yeah. So just like, you know, finding right questions. And maybe that's something we could put together. Like what questions would you ask a shaman or the retreat center, the facilitators who are putting this thing together or whatever. I think that would be really helpful, because I think that's really important. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I did a whole deep dive. I mean, my background is in research. So I did a whole deep dive the first time, and I was like calling them like for an hour. What else? Any other myths or things to debunk?
Just is hard. I would say advice is, if you can, stick to it, but definitely something about pork, the pig, anything that comes from pig is, you know, is definitely a no-no because of the way that the animal is. And this is even something in like Ayurveda too, like they don't really eat pork and things like that. A lot of cultures don't, because one, they say that the pig is a really smart animal. And so you don't want a smart animal that you've ate to be messing with like your brain in that sense. I guess the energetics of it. And then also just pigs are associated with like, they're just dirty and like all that stuff. But also pig has a lot more of whatever the chemical is in ayahuasca, pork actually has that too. So it can, if those two together can spike up your blood pressure and cause, you know, the disadvantages of ayahuasca, right? Where your blood pressure could go really high and blah, blah, blah. So I would say out of anything, just stay away from that for sure. Like don't even have your bacon, like wait till after, or your carne asada, you know, or your chicharrones, right? So I think that's something that's like really important. But yeah, so I think we've touched on for the most part. If we haven't, like always reach out and feel free to ask us questions and things like that. I do plan to do another where I will be putting together the ayahuasca retreat. I did the last one in April of 2024, and I'm thinking of doing it again, probably spring of 2026. So I'll put something in the description notes of this if you're interested to get on like a list. And then when I'm ready to kind of announce that I have all the details and plans set up, then you can get all the information for that. And it would be a small group. I definitely enjoyed the last one that I facilitated. That it was like 7 of us. I would like to go to like, you know, keep it between 7 to 8. I feel like that is a nice little sweet spot. And it allows me to hold space for you. And then it allows for you to not be so energetically bombarded by, by your people that are in that space. And the way I do it is I create a container before the ayahuasca journey and then guide you through the whole dieta process. And we go through, you know, like kind of coaching type style support in a sense before the ayahuasca. And I feel like that's really important. I wish I would have had that, although we did that for yourselves. Me and Valerie did. But yeah, I definitely feel like the pre-ayahuasca is really also important. Maybe that's the last thing, like really setting yourself up for success and not just walking into it without any support. I think unless you already have a lot of experience with therapy and spirituality and all that fun stuff. But if like you don't, then I would definitely look for some guidance beforehand. Yeah. So keep an eye out for that. And then other than that, we're just happy to be able to share our experience with you. And hopefully like, you know, plant medicine is such a sacred medicine. It is from the earth and it can help with so many things that I just feel like the more we share about it, the more people will be like, oh, interesting. You know, we just want to pique people's curiosity to working with plant medicine and also debunk the whole like, because everybody's like, oh my God, you do that? Like they think you're on cocaine or something. I'm like, no, I've never even did that, but no.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't have to like travel out of the country. I mean, that's definitely an option, but you can also do it here in California.
Yes, you do have to a person who is able to provide it for you in a safe space. So definitely look into that. So yeah, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Do you have anything else to add?
No.
Yeah, we're all tapped out now.
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us on this episode where we shared about our experience. And yeah, like Arlene said, if you have questions, send us an email, send us a DM, leave a comment, however you want to get in contact with us, because we're more than happy to share. Like, this is definitely a plant medicine that I think a lot of people would benefit from.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Espiritu Coffee Chats.
We hope you enjoyed our conversation and found a little inspiration to take with you.
If you loved what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform.
And stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind the scenes content, and more.
Until next time, keep the spirit alive and the coffee brewing. Cheers! Ow, ow, ow.